from me, sticking his tongue out as he counted it. He lost count halfway through and had to start again, while my skin itched and my hands trembled. Eventually, he grunted in satisfaction and waved me away. "Jimmy's waiting at the bottom of the steps. He'll sort you out." I nodded. Before I could twist away to collect what I'd paid for, Arbuthnot's eyes snapped to my face and met my gaze for the first time. "It'll kill you in the end, you know." He was the last person I needed health advice from. And yeah, it would kill me in the end. Being an addict sucked, but spider silk was the only thing I'd found that could control the wild magic inside me. Before I'd started taking it, I'd been in real danger of inadvertently killing someone because of my lack of self-control. I'd rather be an addict than a murderer, though I wouldn't tell any of that to Arbuthnot. "Yes," I said simply. "I know." I marched briskly down the well-trodden steps. The narrow gullies on either side, where rivulets of blood from the butchers who used to do business here once flowed, had been filled in decades ago, but even so I stayed away from them. There was no sense in treading over bloody history unnecessarily. It was important to me to respect the past, even when it had no bearing on my future. Call it an odd quirk if you like. We all have them. Jimmy, a large-muscled human whose face was etched with a crisscross of ugly, shiny scars, held out a small sealed bag as I approached. I took it from him and counted 10 little white pills, each one marked with a crude S. I tried not to let my relief show, though I didn't have the patience or the willpower to wait. As soon as I turned my back on him, I fumbled inside the bag for a pill and threw it into my mouth, holding it on my tongue until I felt the familiar bitter fizz. Then I swallowed. Everything would be okay now. I would be okay now. I waited for the spider silk to take effect. It was manufactured in a grotty lab somewhere and had nothing to do with actual arachnids, not as far as I was aware. It was only called spider silk because once you were caught in its web, there was almost no chance of escape, no matter how hard you struggled to free yourself. Withdrawal symptoms started with shaking and nausea, before moving on to hallucinations, hysteria, and palpitations. They usually ended up in total insanity, followed by cardiac arrest. I'd come dangerously close a few times in the past, and I had no desire to experience them again, regardless of the long-term risks of taking the drug. I held my breath as the night sky slowly sharpened and my blood started to tingle. That was when the high-pitched scream ripped through the chill air. I whipped around, my gaze snagging with Jimmy's. He blinked at me slowly and raised his massive shoulders in a shrug. "Didn't hear nothing," he said. I hissed in irritation, then sprinted in the scream's direction. I saw the woman as soon as I left Flesh Market Close. She'd been backed into a corner, her spine pressed against a doorway as her hands, still clutching her handbag, flailed in front of her face. One of her shoes had come off, a high-heeled black lacquered thing whose design would do no one other than the wealthy designer any favours. It lay uselessly on the cobbles, the only obstacle between her and the snarling vampire who was on all fours in front of her. Come bubbling bollocks! I watched the vampire advance on her for a single frozen second, then I rolled my eyes and launched myself at him. What most people don't realise is that vampires are stupid. The general public focus on the idea that vamps are extraordinary predators with terrifying skills, instead of the fact that once they've latched onto a target, they don't notice anything else, even when they're about to be attacked themselves. Even when I'd leapt onto the vampire's back, wrapped my arm around his neck and begun to squeeze, the undead creature still only had eyes for its intended victim. The woman, whose terror had enveloped her like a shroud, squeaked. Unfortunately, that sound only increased the vampire's bloodlust. I grunted, doing my best to hold back his foul, rotting body as his dirt-caked hands scrabbled towards her. I tightened my grip on his neck, but it obviously wasn't enough, so I gritted my teeth and smashed the elbow of my other arm into the side of his head. I heard the crunch of bone as his cheekbones shattered. Needless to say, the injury didn't slow him down. I wasn't sure that he'd even noticed. I dropped my legs on either side of his body until I was straddling him, then dug my heels into the ground to ensure that he couldn't advance any further. The woman began chanting a trembling litany, her words running into each other until they were barely intelligible. "I don't want to die! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" I could feel the vampire's sinewy muscles straining against me. My hold on him was slipping, and he jerked forward an inch, then another,